Hey everyone! Sorry I'm a little bit of a mess. I just came from one of my friend's shows. It's a Saturday night, I actually don't usually go out on Saturday nights, but something was going on, so I did. And I'm wearing the shirt I just got. It's actually a used shirt from Rumors Boutique here in Richmond. I love used clothes. They're less expensive and generally a lot better quality than what you find in department stores. Anyway. In my last video, I mentioned that I would be talking about self-healing and self-love, so I'm just going to kind of do a brief overview of that. Um, I went through one of the hardest times of my life last year, as I mentioned in my last video. I won't delve into that so much, but I'll just say that starting the year, particularly like January, I was at my very worst. I was kind of exploring different ways to feel better, different ways to get out of where I was. But one of my biggest problems was like not truly loving myself, loving my own company, being dependent on other people, particularly on another person in my life. And when all that sort of fell beneath me, I was shattered, seriously, at my ultimate lowest. And I just remember crying and feeling like my life was ending essentially. I felt so alone. And then I was in a world religions class actually, slash global ethics class, and we kind of did a survey of religions, and I am not religious. I do not like religions. I find them to be quite dogmatic and just generally controlling. But that being said, I have always been somewhat interested in spirituality, and so this was something that we talked about in my class as well, and someone mentioned something about spirituality coming from within. And prior to that, my thoughts were that it was something outside of ourselves, like something that you would like look for in the universe. I don't know if that makes much sense, but it wasn't something within. That thought didn't make sense to me. When she said, I was like, that's kind of the opposite of how I feel. No less. Um, I had also been with a group of friends and they were just talking about like all this crazy stuff, but someone mentioned something about the chakras and it was something I'd never really thought about before. But then he said, he was like, this shit's like really cool, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. I didn't really know anyone my own age who had ever even mentioned the chakras. So then I actually mentioned this to my mother, who I knew would be aware of this, and then she said, no, you need to listen to Carolyn Myss, Energy Anatomy. Now, I knew she had listened to Carolyn Myss a lot when I was a child, but I had no idea what Carolyn Myss even talked about. Um, I didn't really know what to expect from Energy Anatomy, but no less, I was desperate and my mom recommended it. And so we listened to the first part of the CD, and I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if I agree with everything she's saying, but then she would get into other things, and I would be like, wait, this makes so much sense. So I actually listened to the first half of her whole Energy Anatomy. My mom didn't have the second half to lend me, but that first half like really was eye-opening for me and just gave me this totally new perspective, I suppose. And it was at that point that I realized that like happiness is internal. You cannot find it in exterior things. You have to find it within. And that's when the what was said about spirituality made sense to me, that it was internal, it was something from within. And now, like, that I see that, I know I can just say that and it sounds so kind of, it doesn't even carry any weight when I say it. But if you actually like go through this journey of like self-healing and processing all this stuff, then you start to see it, and it just makes so much sense on like such a deep level, so much deeper than I could even put into words. um so I was feeling better in a sense after kind of figuring all that out. But you know, it takes a while when you're self-healing to actually get to happiness. Even if you are having like actual realizations, you're not going to actually be happy for a while after, because there's processing of what you now know and then also applying it to your actual life. So even though I knew all these things and I was starting to apply them, they hadn't actually like set in place in my life. But then over time, more and more, I've become less and less dependent on other people and more happy with myself. And I'm just honestly, like, I was so broken at the beginning of this year, and I felt like I was just at my very worst and that things just couldn't get any worse. But because of everything that had happened last year, I was able to come to where I am now. And I guess I am really happy because if there had never been a tragedy, if things had never really changed for me, then I would have never grown, and I have grown so immensely. So anyway, that's kind of, I think, all I wanted to say right now. It might sound a little crazy, everything I'm saying, but to me it doesn't, and I'm still learning and like finding myself and figuring out what I'm doing and who I am and everything else, and I'm still finding my happiness, but all I can say is I'm happier now than I have been in years. And I'm still not where I want to be, so I know I'm just going to keep getting better because I want to, because I have a drive to, and I will continue to grow, and I will continue to be happy with myself, and that's really the best thing I can do at this point in time. That's really the best thing I can do in my entire life, is to learn to be happy and to learn to love myself. And that's really all I could say for anyone else who's going through a hard time, is find what it is for you. And it doesn't need to be, my journey isn't your journey. We all have a different way of finding our internal happiness. But the best thing that you could possibly do is to learn to be happy with yourself, and learn to be happy without exterior things or people outside of yourself, because happiness comes from within. And that's been the biggest, most beautiful thing that I've learned this year, or probably in my entire life. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share right now. I know all that might sound a little random and crazy and whatever else, but I'll probably go in depth on different aspects of all of this on my channel, and I guess that's it for now. Anyway, I hope you liked my video and that you subscribe if you're interested in more. I think my next video I will talk about veganism and health, because those are very important. And, well, hope you watch the next video and hope you subscribe. Bye!